Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S21 and see how it holds up in the later part of 2024. Now, the big thing I can definitely tell you in my personal opinion is that a phone like the Samsung Galaxy S21 for a lot of people might still be like a pretty decent phone, but there's a lot of other phones I'd probably recommend before picking up this one. But if you currently own this phone, then I think it still is like a pretty decent option for the most part. But like I said, it might make more sense to go and switch over to a different device. And we'll talk about that throughout this whole entire video. First things first, if you want to pick up this phone or some other phones I'd recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Samsung Galaxy S21, the front side as always is giving you a 6.2-inch dynamic AMOLED display, 1080p, nothing super insane we haven't already seen before. I talked about this phone like 3 different times this year, and even when I compare this thing against the Samsung Galaxy, S24s, or even like the iPhone 16s that just came out, I'm actually pretty surprised how this phone has been holding up. Like, it's actually not like a terrible performing device. And I do think that in and of itself is a really nice thing going on for this type of phone. So I do think that in and of itself is a pretty big thing to keep in mind within this particular device. On top of that, USB Type-C port on the bottom. You're getting this frosted plastic back, which is probably the worst thing that's aged on this phone. I think if you're going to go through and like get a device, this thing definitely with that frosted plastic back, it is definitely not its strong suit, and it really is one of the biggest disadvantages, I would say, of this type of device. I'm really like not that big of a fan of this type of device when it comes down to that and that particular frosted plastic back. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to kind of keep in mind here too is the fact that within this particular phone, you're basically still getting a device that's still supported with software. So this phone is still supported with software. It's not really going anywhere anytime soon. And I do think this is another really big advantage for this type of device. You're able to go ahead, pick it up, and you're really not going to have too many issues, I would say, when it comes down to that side of this type of phone. So that in and of itself is another really nice thing. Like, you don't really have to necessarily worry about it being such a, pain because it's still supported with software kind of, but it's not going to be supported that much longer. So I'm not really too sure when this phone is going to like end off with software updates, but it's not really going to be lasting like an insane amount of time longer. So if you're planning on going through and like picking up a device, just know that this phone is pretty much on its end of life. It's on one of its last versions of software right now. And I would hate for you to go ahead and pick up a phone like this if it's already going to be outdated with software. So that is somewhat the problem that we're kind of experiencing right now. And that's why I would kind of say, like, if you are going to go through and like pick up a device, it may not make a lot of sense to go and buy a phone like this. It might make more sense to go and buy a device that's still kind of supported with software. And since this thing is already kind of done getting software support, I probably wouldn't necessarily recommend buying this phone when it comes down to it. Now, on top of that, I would say the performance side of this phone is still actually pretty decent. That Snapdragon 888 chipset inside of this phone is actually very, very, respectful. Like, I think it's a pretty good performing chipset. Also, at 8GB of RAM still is like pretty good when it comes down to that as well. So I still think you're getting like a pretty powerful chipset. And I think that's another really cool thing going on for this type of phone. Like, it's not like overly weird. It's not like a slow chipset. And even when compared to a lot of phones in this day and age, it's still holding up like fairly well when it comes down to it as well. So overall, what I definitely will tell you, I enjoy my time with the Samsung Galaxy S21. I still think like it is a really, really good type of phone. It may not be like a perfect phone, but it still is a really good device, and I would highly recommend people to go and pick it up. And yeah, but if you are able to, I would recommend buying something like a Samsung Galaxy S23, S23 Ultra. Those types of phones are probably going to last longer than this type of device, so just kind of keep that in mind. But I'm still a massive fan of the Galaxy S21, and if you want to buy it, go for it. It's a very cheap phone, but it might make more sense to go and buy a phone that's a little bit better. Things like the Samsung Galaxy S23 or S23 Ultra. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.